Hello, welcome to my presentation on writing an interpretation of ANOVA results in APA format. My name is Holly Middleton. I'm pursuing my Doctor of Education in Curriculum and Instruction at the University of Louisiana at Monroe. This presentation is being completed for Curriculum 7002 Applied Statistical Analysis with Dr. John Murray. What is ANOVA? ANOVA stands for Analysis of Variance. It is represented by the symbol if. In its simplest form, it is comparing the means or averages of three or more groups to better understand the relationship between the independent and dependent variables. There are two different types of ANOVA tests. A one-way, also called a single-factor ANOVA, is used for three or more groups of data based on the levels of one independent variable or factor. A two-way, also called a factorial ANOVA, is used for comparing groups based on two independent variables. What should you report? First, the type of analysis that you conducted, why this analysis was used, and what your analysis actually tested for. Next, you want to include any descriptive statistics, like your means or standard deviations. Then, you want to highlight the significant differences between conditions once you've actually run your ANOVA analysis. If the results of your ANOVA analysis were significant, then you would then have to run and report results from a post hoc test. If your results were not significant, there's no need for a post hoc test, and you can go right to your summary section and summarize your results. Finally, you'll summarize your results in a way that the reader can actually understand them. What values you will report? First, the F, which is an F statistic, DF, which is the degrees of freedom, P, which is your probability, also called the significance level, N, are your number of observations, M, which are your means, SD are your standard deviations. In your opening sentence, it's usually best practice to report your test type and its use. A simple formula is a one-way ANOVA was conducted to compare the effect of insert your independent variable on the dependent variable or variables. In this example, from the text, we included a one-way ANOVA was conducted to compare the effect of a father's education level on grades in high school. I know in the text it also compared it to math achievement in a visualization test, but for the simplicity of this presentation and to get it to a shorter time frame, I just included grades in high school. Once you've run your ANOVA analysis, you'll first report your descriptive statistics. In this example, I'm reporting the means. So, the mean grade in high school is about 5.34 for students whose fathers had low education, 5.56 for students whose fathers attended some college, and 6.53 for students whose fathers received a bachelor's degree or more. Next, you'll highlight the significant differences between the conditions using the data from your ANOVA analysis. A format to use is F, open parentheses, DF, comma, space, DF, close parentheses, DF meaning degrees of freedom, space, equal sign, space, your F statistic or your F value, comma, space, P, italicized, space, equals, space, your actual P value or your probability. An example I included below for grades in high school. You just input your degrees of freedom between the parentheses, then you input your F statistic, which is in yellow, and then your significance or your p-value, which is in green. While when you're looking at your F statistic, it's important to put a 0 before the decimal when needed, because your F may exceed 1. However, with your probability or your p-value, you do not have to put a 0 before the decimal because p-values never exceed 1. It's really important to remember to include spaces before and after your equal signs in order to adhere to APA format. Other APA rules are making sure you convert your decimals to 2 place values for your F statistic and 3 place values for your P value. All symbols except your Greek letters must be italicized, which is why your F and your P values are italicized. Tables should not be included in a one-way ANOVA result. Rather, you would write the results out, which we will be doing in the subsequent slides. However, when doing a two-way ANOVA, tables can be used, and later on I will show you how to convert your tables into APA format. Okay, putting that beautiful formula into words. Because our p-value fell below 0.05, it is deemed that is a statistical significance. Therefore, we have to say a statistically significant difference was found among the 3 levels of father's education on grades in high school, followed by the actual formula or the actual ANOVA analysis. It's important to remember that ANOVA only tells you if there is a statistical significance, not exactly where that significance lies within groups. Therefore, if the ANOVA reports a statistical significance or p-value below 0.05, then a post hoc test must be conducted to determine in which groups the difference lies. If there is no statistical significance, then no further analysis is needed in the results section. How do you know which post hoc test to actually run? Once you've found that the p-value is statistically significant, then you determine if there are more than 2 groups. If there are more than 2 groups, then you would likely use the Tukey or Games-Howell post hoc test, with the Tukey being the most common post hoc test to use for a one-way ANOVA analysis, and this is the one that we used in our text. When looking at the data after we've run the Tukey honest significance test, we see that the p-value falls less than 0.05 for a bachelor's degree or more compared to a high school grad or less. When we look at the subsets, we see that when comparing the high school graduate or less to some college education, their means are not statistically different, significantly different. Likewise, when you compare some college to bachelor's degree or more, their means are not significantly different. However, you see that high school grad or less, low education, compared to a bachelor's degree or more, high education, there is a significant difference. Therefore, when writing your results, you'll first identify the test that you use. So post hoc Tukey test indicates that the low education group and high education group differed significantly in their grades with a large effect size. Space, open parentheses, p italicized equals 0.017, or you could also simply state that the p-value is less than 0.05. Once you've analyzed your data, it's really important to make it understandable to the reader. Therefore, you can include a summary statement which ties all of your points together and makes it more easily understood. Well, using the example that we've been doing with comparing a father's education level to student achievement, we summarize this statement. Therefore, a father's education level has an impact on their child's future academic achievement. Students whose fathers had a low education are more likely to have lower grades than those whose fathers had a high education. That's much easier to understand than p-values and degrees of freedom and all of those formulas that not everyone gets. Your final product should look something like this, first including your test type and purpose, then identifying your descriptive statistics like your means, and also you can include your standard deviations, then your significance, then your post hoc test results, and then finally a statement that makes it more understandable to everyone who reads your report. One benefit in using a two-way or factorial ANOVA is that you can use tables, which is not encouraged in a one-way ANOVA analysis. However, in SPSS, tables are not automatically formatted to APA format. Therefore, we have to manually reformat them to APA format before we can include them in our Word document. To do that, you go to whichever data set you want to in SPSS. In this case, I'm going to do the ANOVA. And then you right click on it. You hit Edit Content in Viewer. Right click again anywhere on that table. And you're going to click on Table Looks. Okay. You can pretty much edit any of these looks you want to, and you can even create your own. But they've automatically created one that's labeled APA Times New Roman 12-point font. So this looks right. Your title is italicized, it's left indented, it looks like the formatting is correct, but if you just want to double check and make sure, the main thing you want to look for is that everything is set to Times New Roman 12-point font. And you can check all of these, your title, through every aspect of your data set. So if you just click on a couple of them, it looks like they're all set to Times New Roman 12-point font, so that looks good. Then you want to check your borders, and the main borders you want to look at are your top inner frame border and your bottom inner frame border. So for your top inner frame border, you want it to be a thin border, which is what it's set as right here. The bottom also looks like it's set to thin, and then your data area top should be set to thin, which it is. So it looks like this table looks APA Times New Roman format that comes with SPS is correct. So you just click OK, and now it's converted your table to an APA format. So now you can simply right click and copy and then paste it into your Word document. If you'd like more information on how to report ANOVA results in APA format, you can refer to the APA manual. In the APA index, ANOVA is called the analysis of variance, and that can be found on page 408. You have tables and figures on page 208 and 209, sample tables included on page 207, and then you have sample table options on pages 216 through 217. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my presentation.